Push it.
The things my father said would make me a better man. Hard work and the love of friends, a woman that understands. I hope my father knows the seeds we've sown still grow.
Friends, we have come together because we knew and loved Brent and Charles King as father, grandfather, great-grandfather, brother, uncle, friend. I'm sure there's more words we can put in there. It is good to come together because we need each other in empathy and consolation, and because we need each other in courage and in wisdom. Here we will face Brent's death, celebrate his life, and show our love and support for the family and for each other. Today we will do this with ritual and conversation, in which we will share memories and retell stories of the family. Brent's life has touched and affected many people. He and Sheila collected people who became family. At this time, we're going to honor Brent with military honors.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are able, please rise while we render final military honors. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. And on behalf of the President of the United States, we make a proclamation to set aside a symbol of our appreciation for his love and smile and faithful service. Detail forward.
I'd like to thank the United States Navy for their honoring Brent today. Brent would perhaps want us to celebrate his life today, maybe as summarized in this poem. When I've ridden all the roads and trails and my body simply fails, I don't want pomp and ritual, but celebrate that I am free. Miss me a little, but not for long. Don't hang your heads to weep for me. Remember the laughs, recall the hugs. Miss me, but let me go. Brent's life was unique, but he added zest and kindness to the world and to each of our lives. He loved his family, he loved life, and he loved God. He now has passed from this existence into the ultimate community of human existence, the communion of saints. The gifts and graces which he had offered are never lost to us. The creativity which he brought to us in his life and relationships lies now within our own lives and travels into the future as part of who we have become. Our lives have been shaped and influenced because of our relationships with Him. Through fun times and difficult times, Brent was present and steadfast. Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and I am life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, yet shall they live. And whoever lives in me shall never die. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I hold the keys of hell and death. Because I live, you shall live also." During today's service, we are going to sing together this song, Amazing Grace. We'll be singing verses 1, 5, and 6. We'll be later hearing from a couple of musicians, and then we'll have some videos with some songs and music to remember Brent. At this time, I invite you to go ahead and remain seated and sing Amazing Grace, verses 1, 5, and 6. The words will be on the screen. Many people find comfort in the words of the 23rd Psalm, and if you are one of those, like many of us, who have memorized this psalm, I invite you to say those words along with me, though the version that I will be reading may be slightly different than what you memorized. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. I'm going to now invite Holly Bell to sing for us, "It Is Well With My Soul."
Peace like attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll. Whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight. The clouds will be rolled back as a scroll. The trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul.
A reading from Isaiah chapter 40. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not grow faint, nor grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint.
And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. You who dwell in the shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for life, say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock in whom I trust, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. The snare of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under his wings your eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. You need not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, though thousands fall about you, near you it shall not come, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. For to his angels he's given a command to guard you in all of your ways. Upon their hands they will lift you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you.
I just wanted to say that I read this verse at Sheila and Brent's wedding, how many years ago? 33 years ago. A reading from 1 Corinthians 13. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful, or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. And now faith, hope, and love abide. These three, and the greatest of these is love.
We're now going to hear from three persons as words from the family. We'll first hear from Holly Bell, who will be reading a letter from Tiffany Wall. Then we'll hear from the Reverend Shirley Van Dam, and then again from Elena Klump.
These are the words from my friend Tiffany Wall, who went to church with us here previously. And honestly, I would have written my own words, but I couldn't have said it better myself. Sheila and Brent may not have been family by blood, but they are still family. They welcomed the kids and I into our small little city in Arizona and the church we called home. Brent and Sheila have the biggest hearts of two people I have ever seen. I trusted them wholeheartedly that I even left Curtis in their care for weekends when Kylie and I had to go to Disneyland with the Girl Scouts. They shared in my frustration of a husband stationed in Korea. They were there to pray for a positive outcome, and they cried tears of joy right along with me when Clay's adoption of the kids went through. Brent was a very proud veteran, and he loved this country. My children felt like they lost another grandparent when I shared the news with them this evening. Please pray for Brent that this is now no longer suffering and can continue to be the guardian angel that he has always been for all of us. Pray for his family and his friends that they may soon gain a sense of peace and understanding in their grief. And lastly, but definitely not least, pray for Sheila in the upcoming days leading to his service in the months and the years that will follow. Rest in peace, Brent. Your surrogate family loves you so much.
We are an imperfect people living in an imperfect world. Our friends and parents are not perfect, and they make mistakes, sometimes big mistakes, sometimes small ones. When we grow up with gaps in our love. If we're lucky, our parents love us as good as they can. Hopefully there's enough aunts, uncles, neighbors, and friends to fill in some of the things that were missed, to fill in those gaps. Brent did not have the best childhood, but he and Sheila provided a loving home and a better childhood to their own children and to many others. Brent welcomed me into the family as if I had been a part of it forever. I was inspired as Brent and Sheila continued to open their hearts to an ever-expanding family. One of the things that inspired me about Brent was his ability to adapt. He adapted and learned how to live with his declining health. He didn't let Agent Orange stop his life. He didn't let the amputation of his toes stop him from living. It's interesting that it was a heart attack that was Brent's highway to heaven. His heart, filled with love, carried him out of this world and into the next. God bless you, Brent.
I too was welcomed into Sheila and Brent's family back in 86. Back in 86. I don't think I'm that old, but I guess I am. I want you to notice the prayer flags across the front. Those were created by the family, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, as we gathered together and shared our love and our grief for Brent. If you have the chance to come and look at them, they're our hearts. When I learned that Brent had died, I couldn't think. What could I say? Brent left us, not by choice, ours or his. We're all in shock, just trying to wrap our minds and hearts around his being gone from our lives. We're numb. Life has just seemed to stop. We're going through the motions, trying to recall what we're supposed to be doing. So, stop. Breathe. Pause a moment and let yourself just be with it. Life has changed. It'll never be the same, and yet it keeps going forward like it always has. It's not fair. As Pastor said, Brent was husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and friend to so many of us. He and Sheila took in over 100 kids, that's when they stopped counting, who needed love and caring. Most of the foster kids never called Brent Dad until they left their house and became adults. Then they were Dad. He was Dad to them. And many of them would call and reconnect. One young man, Gene, even named his first son after Brent. Brent raced dirt bikes, taking second place in the senior class in Nevada. Sheila met Brent for the first time when he came over to her house to show her the safety gear for motorcycles so her son Jason could ride with Brent and his boys. Sheila was adamantly against motorcycles, having worked in the law field and seen the accidents and dismemberments people suffered. But when Brent was walking up to her door to show her the safety gear, she looked out the window and said to herself, "I'm going to marry that man." And so she did. Not only did Sheila let Jason ride dirt bikes with Brent, she later owned her own Harley Softail Deluxe Retro 50s bike and ran with a women's motorcycle group. Brent was a man's man. He loved mechanics, guns, motorcycles. He grew up in a tough way, as Shirley has said, being raised in part by a rough man named Jess, who was from the Masonic Children's Home. Brent served in the Navy during Vietnam. He used to wear a t-shirt saying, "I died in Vietnam from Agent Orange." And he was right. Brent taught me how to shoot, something my dad never even thought of doing. Brent and Sheila moved me to Nevada to help them with their foster home. We all went on many trips in their motorhome with the foster kids and their kids, including one 30-day, 20-state, 6,530-mile adventure. We had the family, the foster kids, and a puppy named Haley, who was named after Halley's Comet, who was in the sky at the time. The biggest gift Brent gave me was the gift of my son, Ryan, who I met in their home when he was 8 years old. Brent was father to Ryan, the father Ryan never had. The second biggest gift from Brent was his love for my best friend, Sheila, and her kids. Sheila needed a man she could count on, one who would always love her, and he did. As with any marriage, they had their tough times, but their love was always strong. Sheila and family may be too sad to speak today, but their love is not silent. It's choked back in sobs of grief and numbness of loss. Brent, we all miss you. Our lives have changed forever. Now, my brother would tell me that Brent's not gone. He's standing right beside me in spirit. But it's so hard to hug him that way.
One of the most difficult things for us to do in our lives is to reconcile the feelings that we have in our heart with the ideas that we have in our heads. So often when someone dies, we try to express our words our feelings, but words fail us because our words are inadequate. I always wished that there was a class in seminary that taught right words to say. There's no such class, because there's no set of right words. Sometimes the only right words are no words, just to hug each other and to cry together. To try to reconcile what the heart feels, I love and miss this person, with what the brain says, but they've gone on to be with God and they're in a better place. Those words aren't comforting, but our faith says we move from this life to new life, not a different life, a new life. Has everybody eaten an apple? I mean, it's an American thing to do, I'm told. Have you ever heard an apple seed scream? No, I haven't either. I've chomped on a couple, but I didn't hear them scream. Can you tell me how many apple trees are going to grow from an apple? Can you tell me how many apples a tree is going to produce? These are things that only God can know, because God sees into each piece of creation to see the fruit that it will bear. A seed that dies in the soil may sprout a new tree, and perhaps it will weather the storms, and it will grow strong, and it will bear much fruit. Or perhaps it will be chomped and tread upon and wither and die. Some trees will bear fruit, and then they'll be chopped down, and their wood will be turned into furniture or decorations, or maybe used in a fireplace. God knows how to use each piece of creation. Brent's life was about sowing seeds. We can talk about a difficult upbringing, but what we'd see more is the good fruit that these banners begin to represent, that the family gathered represents, that the family that is not here still continues to represent. And let me share with you that Brent's life continues. A new life in the presence of God. He's probably singing in the choir. He's probably running around. He might be saying how to fix a couple of things. But his life continues here, too, in how each life that has been touched by his presence, by his words, by his actions, by his mere presence, as we celebrate his life, we take those stories of what he has done and how he has been with us, and we remember the times we laughed. We remember the times we cried. We remember the times together. And we become better for those memories. And we too have that promise of new life in the resurrection. Amen. As we come to the moment of farewell, part of our grief may be regret for things done or left undone. Words said or words never said. Moments that never happened. One last hug, one last laugh, one more conversation. This is our time to lay aside all those regrets and honor the spirit of Brent, who would never want them to be carried into our future. To love someone is to risk the pain of parting. Not to love is never to have lived. The grief that we now experience is the honoring of our love for Brent. We gather today to find comfort in one another. May the spirit of life and hope emerge in your lives in the days ahead, and may we who love and care for you embody the Spirit in our tenderness, care, and generosity. I want to share with you another poem. Though I don't know the author, it says much about Brent and what I believe he'd want us to hear today. It's entitled, I'm Free. Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God laid for me. I took his hand when I heard him call. I turned my back and left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work or play. Tasks left undone must stay that way. I found that place at the close of day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss. Ah yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full, I've savored much. Good friends, 2 times, a loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your heart and share with me. God wanted me now. He set me free. On behalf of the entire family, I'd like to thank you for attending this celebration of Brent's life and invite you to a reception at Jason and Twyla's house. That's 8247 East Ramsey Canyon Road. That's out past Mosen Road on Ramsey Canyon. Look for the crowd of cars. We will now be leaving from this site as the service ends, and we'll process out through these doors and follow the sidewalk around to the columbarium for the inurnment. I will take Brent and lead the procession, invite the family to follow me out, and then if you'll allow the family to all leave first, and then you may follow if you'd like to brave the cold and wind and come outside. I would like to thank the Patriot Guard for their presentation today. They will be lining the sidewalk. I see them already forming out here. With that, into your hands, O merciful Savior, we commend your servant Brent. Acknowledge, we humbly request, O God, a sheep of your own fold, a lamb of your own flock, a sinner of your own redeeming. Receive Brent into the arms of your mercy, into the blessed rest of everlasting peace, and into the glorious company of the saints of light. Amen. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. And the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. This concludes this portion of the service. Again, I invite you to follow the family as we lead out to the columbarium.